Hi, welcome to Choosing Love. I'm Lindsay Ambrose.
And I'm Jackie Woodward, and we're sharing soulful conversations about integrating spirituality in your everyday life.
Thanks so much for joining in. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. And yeah, you can join us every week here, Thursday nights, as we talk about integrating spirituality into our life. What does that mean? And how are we doing that each day? So tonight we're going to talk about being in our own truth. So it's a kind of a big topic, and we thought it was really important because now, at any time it's, we want to be in our own integrity and feeling in alignment. But what does that really mean? How do you know if you're in your truth? And why is it hard sometimes to be in it? Why does it feel like we can't, feel all those feelings, or we can't show up as our whole self because, of things that are going on. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. So yeah. So I guess, what does that mean to me when I say, being in my truth? I think sometimes it's easier to describe it by saying, like, what isn't it? Thinking about, I always I love the idea of like creating a little space between, what's happening and how I'm responding. And in kind of being the observer, it's helpful to think about, we have our thoughts in our head that are going, that are running, and that's not us. Like, we're observing that, and it's powerful, and yet, we're more than that. So then we've got that going on. We've got our emotions, which is, what we're feeling. It's energy in motion, and it's our stuff, right? Like, it can get really intense. And then we have what's going on all around us. But I feel like our truth is something deeper than that. It's kind of our, it's like that love, it's connection, and it's always there. It's kind of like that peace that, yeah. So, I mean, for me, like, being in the truth is kind of like taking the time to understand, like, my own values and being in alignment with that. What about for you, Jackie? What comes up just like when you say, like, being in your truth? What is that?
Well, it's when I was listening to you, it's pretty similar, and it's like also being in my truth is like a representation of my purpose. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And what makes me up? And what I feel truth is really what's in alignment with who I am, and how I know that and how I recognize that is when I feel like something inside of me is being pushed, and it either feels heavy to me or it feels light. And my truth is my light about who I am and what I want to share in this world, and what I want to share with other people, or just share with myself. I want to go with life with no judgments, with no expectations. I just want to be here to enjoy the life that we were given. And I know that there's some real things that happen out there that is our humanness, but it's really about my spirit being integrated into the human experience, but staying so connected to my spirit without losing that essence of who I am. Because when we start to lose ourselves in that truth, or when I start to lose myself in that truth, and I feel like it feels like being forced to doing something against the grain, against who I am. And I know that when I can feel it, that it's not right, it doesn't make me feel really good. And all I want to do is feel really good. I just want to feel that I'm in this place of love all the time. Like, no matter if it's a wavy up or down, I can still feel that love.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? Like, we're supposed to be feeling good. So why, like, that's, while being in this experience, of course, challenges are coming up. But creating a little space, right, between, what's going on and how we're choosing to respond, not being against it so much, not like defining it as good or bad, or yeah, I like that you said that, like, kind of, it's like being in like a light, a love.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I think the other thing is like that it's felt, right? It's hard to even describe, because it's like, you felt it. Like, it's almost like that feeling of like when you're in a flow, like you're in a zone, and you just can feel it. And yeah, it's like we want to create more of that. So how do we, how do we create more of that, and feel that even, you know, better? It's like, it's a tricky one, right?
It is, but the one thing about the human experience is I think it's used as a challenge almost, for me at least. Like, I look at it as a challenge. We can use different words around it to really test that area. And one thing that I also, which I go back and forth is that, does our truth change over time? And when I first thought about it, I was going to say yes, but in reality, no. Your spirit does stay the same. It's just that the opportunities that are presented in front of you changes over time, and it can be tricky to really be in your truth, because you come into this world, you're getting taught these certain things, and you have to, it feels like you have to agree, because there's such a power struggle, like with your parents and yourself. And parents, let's be honest, I'm a parent, we don't know what we're doing, right? Like, we're new at it too, so we follow suit, like what happened previously. So sometimes I think we have to step away from that for some years in our truth in order to experience the human experience. And then when we get to a certain age, we go back into our truth of what we're really like. Well, no, wait a second. Hold on here. Wait a second. This doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't, and I'm not helping myself out by doing what everybody else tells me to do. This doesn't feel right to me. And I want to be heard. I want to be heard. So does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, because like that's like one of the biggest things, like we're all like are here. We want to be heard. We want to be seen. We want to know that like what we're doing matters, right? It's kind of like that that core thing that we're all like striving for.
I got to ask you it though on that, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Is that a human experience, or is that your truth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I guess it's hard to determine, right? Like I don't know, like I think like we're here to grow ourselves, right? And to, but I think, yeah, I guess it's kind of that's more of a human thing, to want that, because in the end, because really it's um like yeah, I am already have that. Like if I'm love, and that's what I am at my core, like do I need that validation from outside of me?
Yeah. Like how I visualize this, I don't know why this is coming up, but like even like you have, building blocks or Legos, and every situation causes either the Legos to be built around you or the walls to be built around you, where it's making it harder for you to be more in your truth. And I feel like just being in your truth is just about being the light, being who you are. But the world isn't set up that way. And this is where I want to get to. And I wish I could change the world. And I hope I'm helping, but I want people to give everybody the space to identify and connect with our truth. Like be able to give people the space for other people to step in their truth. Does that make sense? Like I want to give you, like Lindsay, I want to give you the opportunity to, if you're feeling something, and like say if you're mad at me for something that I did, I want to be here, right here, holding you and supporting you, instead of like bullying you or telling you what you've done wrong, But if I have an opinion, I want to say, or my own feelings, be like, oh, really? This is what I'm feeling, and just coming to be like, wow, we have two different opinions. There is no right. But if that's really being touched inside of you, and this is being touched inside of me, well, this is an opportunity for us to be in our light, even though we're
Mm-hmm.
still learning. Does it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that. And it kind of reminds me, I mean, like with your childhood, right? Jackie's
Mhm.
one of 13.
Mhm.
I'm Jackie's sister-in-law. So my upbringing of one of three, I always think about this. So my husband, he I think about you all being with all like those children all the time,
Mhm.
and how like children are just like you feel, right? You express what you're feeling, and it's like you don't have that filter that some of us have as we get older. Because I think something that I know that you're very good at is like you're able to express what you're feeling and like
Mhm.
share it. You don't like you have that like you just learn that like you say what's on your mind. And of course there's times when that's not PC, like that doesn't work always, in certain
Mhm.
environments, like in work environments. and
Mhm.
and but I think it's such a wonderful, amazing skill that you have, and that my husband has, because you all don't have you just feel, and you can express what you're feeling. And so much, I think, when we're not like feel like when we don't feel what we're feeling in the moment, like when we feel like afraid to let it out, or we feel
Mhm.
like we're going to be judged, or we feel like it's not what the other person wants to hear,
Mhm.
that's not being in your truth, right? Like that's you're out of alignment, yet you're not feeling that courage inside you to like express it. But that is not like a way to show up, right? It's not your highest self.
Yeah, and so then you gotta think back, you gotta pull it back a little bit, right? And where you gotta say, "Well, why is it set up this way? Why were we set up this way? Is it because of Paleolithic times where it was survival, that we had to compete and we had to be competitive? Is that one of the reasons why?" And and I think empaths come to a point where like we just want to give love, so we like close up, and we're like, we're not going to be able to be heard because we're not muscling through everything. And
Mm-hmm.
but I do want to note on like when I was being raised, I can't honestly say I was taught to practice going through my feelings. I don't really remember so much. I mean, I think we had to yell a lot to get what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And but I think as time went on, we knew what it felt like not to say what was going on in our life, in our family. And I think we learned that that's not we can't feel that anymore. So we have to speak what's coming up for us, because there's these wounds that are touched on us that we need to express. And we really, everybody, I feel everybody in this whole world, everybody wants one thing, and that's they want to feel love. We don't know what that necessarily means. Some people are misguided in what that means. And even feel that way too. But I know with myself, like when I got to the point in when I used to drink a lot, when I quit, I came to a point where I was finding myself lying people would tell me the next day, this is what you said. I was like, what? I don't want to be identified like that. I'm like, who am I? And so
Mm-hmm.
that is when my truth show started coming up, my awakening started coming through, because I didn't want to feel that way. I wanted to feel happy and real in the moment. And I made a decision that I am going to do whatever it takes to get to that place where I can say, I am okay. I am okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Yeah, no, I think yeah, I think you're right. Like, just a couple things came up when you shared that. And one is that that's something like, so like you talked about like that feeling of drinking alcohol and like kind of like feeling like not in control, and that you were kind of like you were lying, like you weren't showing up as your true self, and that's not what you wanted. And so you realized that that was something that you needed to like not have in your life anymore. And I think that's like such a powerful, realization that you had, and so amazing that you've kept that. And I think it's like, if it's not alcohol, it's something else, right? It could be, many of us have different types of addictions, and some of them are not as, as widely like recognized as an addiction. So like whether it's, addicted to with
The phone.
substances, tech,
The phone.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that, yeah, getting that validation of likes, like that's, I'm sure, something that's like, growing as tech, as these different like social media become more. I mean, I think of myself personally, like, I mean, it was more around wanting to please people, and it's still something that I kind of struggle with, where it's like, I'm definitely not in my truth when I'm worrying or thinking more about what other people are thinking about me, or thinking more about how what I'm going to say is going to like affect them, or whether they're going to like me based on what I'm going to say. Like all those things, that's really, me being in my head and not being in my heart, and not like just kind of in my truth and showing up. And so yeah, so I think it's like we all have the different things that we're moving toward, the different thorns that are within us that we're like, we're slowly like healing. And the other piece that you said that really struck to me was something that I heard recently, but like, our mind, like the idea of like our mind is, there's tons of thoughts in there, and they're not all ours, right? Like our minds, like, you know, it comes from like the early, like the cavemen, where it was all about your body, physical, like go get your food. Like that was like what your mind was for, to like figure that out. And then now that's, you look at the Maslow's like hierarchy of needs, like we're at a stage right now, many of us, where like our basic needs are being met, right? Like we do have food, we do have shelter. And so now it's, for a while it was kind of like getting into, we were looking more at, so that was like the physical body, right? Like your senses. And then it's like your mind, and how our mind works. And, we could maybe really get ahead in work life and career, like when we can just like, be very linear, and like we can solve things. But now it's almost feels like we're moving more toward like soul, to like that greater, meaning and fulfillment that we desire, that's more than we're like, so it's kind of, I keep like going back to this idea of like these different kind of things going on, like with your thoughts, your thinking, what you're feeling, and then just like your body, and how, when we're not in our truth, that we're feeling it in all those different areas, right? Like,
Right.
we're feeling it, when we're saying a lie, like you said, like when you're in a lie, like you can feel that in your body. And it's even like, I've been really interested, as I think about like every thought we have has an energy to it, a vibration. And like when we're not in our truth, it's like our vibration is that much lower, and it's like we need to be showing up at a higher energy level.
It's really interesting. Like I've said before, I do intuitive work, and I help people move through, birth their intuition even more, and also help them heal. I teach, but I assist in teaching. But it's interesting because the energetic body, right, is below like your nervous system, and underneath, like this is what I was taught, the energy system is underneath your nervous system, and then it's the physical body. That if it does, like every thought, everything we do affects our energetic body. And if we don't listen, if we don't listen, something's going to tell your nervous system that something's not right. And when that happens, you go into overactive. And when that overactive happens, if it happens for too long, it starts wreaking havoc on your system. So it's really important. Like I'm going to share something personal. Uh, I have a family member that I have witnessed that wasn't really telling the truth. And what I noticed over time, that their lies caught up to them. And I always innately knew, and I saw him start walking with a shuffle and with his head down, and I could just tell that the lies were bearing weight on him, and he wanted what he wanted, but he didn't want to be seen with what the truth was. And so that's the thing that I have, that I carry with me. And I know that carries with me that the truth is so important for you, because it does wreak havoc on your system, that your truth is so much more important. And I would say, fight for your truth. Fight for your truth, and how important it is to allow it to come out. And even if you don't know what it is, spend the time exploring it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, right, like feeling like it's so big, right? Like that you feel it, like, because, dis-ease. I love like breaking apart that word, like it's that you're not feeling that ease of your body, like that flow. Whenever we get into a place that's a little more like we're fear, it's, coming from fear, it's any of those big, the like judgment and, anxiety, I'm just thinking of some of those anger, like, it's like, those are natural feelings, but when we don't let it kind of flow through us, and we don't like, just be with it, and like recognize we're feeling that and let it flow, it's like it stays in there, and then it, we're blocking ourselves off from feeling more love and feeling that, what's coming up before us, that's meant to kind of help us and help us create that greater flow and harmony in our life. And like you said, like you can, I've heard before, like, you are as sick as your secrets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where, it's going to come to you, like, eventually, if, while, even though like you're feeling it in yourself, and it's like, sometimes I think about it, it's like those little lies, right? It's so important to just become aware, because sometimes we we talk to ourselves and we lie to ourselves because it just momentarily maybe helps us feel better about something that we're going through, that, we're maybe ashamed of or afraid about, the idea of, like, oh, I'm just going to eat that one piece of, chocolate. That's it. One piece, I only want one piece. And then I take another one and another one, like, you
Before
set,
you're done, yeah.
yeah. And like you set that intention. It's like those little lies to ourselves are like, really,
But
they're
it's also
damaging.
it is also about wanting what you want, right? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
that's on a human level, like, of what you truly want. Well, we're all I think we're all seeking love, and but I feel like it's also about wanting what we want, and not being in the moment. And so that takes you away from truth, right? And for
Mm-hmm.
me, I've, even, I mean, I am not perfect. I do, like, when I do say lies, but I have to come back, and I, like, hear my voice saying, that's not true. That's not true. And I love that
Mm-hmm.
voice, because I can turn around to someone and say, you know what? I'm lying. Okay, I'm lying. But it feels so good to come clean, and that statement in itself, to come clean, right? To come clean.
Mm-hmm.
That means you're cleaning up the line. There's like this pillar inside your body that is your light, is who you are. And it's like, just imagine like a whole pillar inside your body. And it's almost, you could think of it as like a hose. And you get to choose what goes in this or not, and what brings it in. And just think about, like, just like you would clean up your house, like, what is in here that I need to clean up? And if you could do that, like, on a daily basis, to, like, think about, okay, how am I feeling today? I'm not feeling so good. Like, somebody said something to me that really triggered me, and it doesn't feel like it's mine. If it feels like it's touching on something that will help me to grow. So what do I work with it? And sometimes it's just sitting with it, so it can go through you, because it's just a human experience getting hit on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Because I think that when in those moments when, like, let's say, like, it's okay to want, like, go and want more of the chocolate or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like you want to be with that, like, be there and, like, enjoy that extra piece. Like, you want to go and just, like, okay, wow, this tastes so delicious, I'm just enjoying this. And it's like, I think where we can get into trouble is when we're not even kind of, like, present for it, we're not
Conscious.
conscious of it, we're
Yeah.
just kind of, yeah, it's like your body's kind of going through the motions and you're not fully there. Like, you're in your head maybe thinking about something else, and then suddenly you ate, like, way more than you ever intended to, and you weren't even, and it's like, oh, I didn't even enjoy that, I was just kind of like, not even with that. And I think we can find ourselves doing that, in a, in many, different areas of our life. And it's kind of like you said, is when we can have the awareness of it, when we can recognize it, then we can make a shift, and we can, get back to this moment, and
Mm-hmm.
get back into our truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I also want to emphasize too, Lindsay, just the impact we all have on each other. It's of allowing people in the truth. And I told Lindsay earlier that I wanted to speak on behalf of a really good friend, Christopher Phelan, that I lost over the weekend. I was shocked. And and he was a special part of my life for, since I was 18. He's taught me some things, and if anybody's listening out there, they would totally get how he provided so much joy and love in our life. But I feel like if someone would have just seen him for who he was in his truth and the happiness and joy he had, and if he could have seen his own truth, he would have taken better care of himself. And also, I feel like so many people put so many layers on him, and he just he was misguided in how he could express his love, that he turned to other things. But he just really, the best thing about him is that he really loved community. He loved being with his friends. He loved all of his friends. And there was a lot of hurt and pain. And when he went through it, not everybody showed up, and he really needed more community, because that's how he heals. And I think if he could be here right now and talk about his truth, I think he would say, I wish somebody would hear me. I wish somebody would um, just love me for me, and just really be in his truth. So I just had to say that, because it's really, I think it's not just about me saying I'm in my truth. It's about honoring other people and not bullying other people to be who they want them to be, to save their own asses, to be honest with you, to save them themselves. And the only person you can save is truly yourself. And I just feel so honored and blessed to have been in Chris's life. And I just think it's really important for all of us to give everybody the compassion that they deserve, because we all really honestly don't know where everybody comes from. And the more cleaner that we are in our truth, the more intuitive we are, that we can pick up on those things. And I also think, and part of the truth is not just also about the lies we may tell ourselves or to other people, but it's also about stepping in and saying, it doesn't matter what other people say. A really good friend said that to me. My friend Tracy Maxwell, she said to me, Jackie, it's none of your business what other people think of you. And from that day forward, it just clicked in my head that it doesn't matter what everybody thinks of me. And that helped me to take the stepping stone to really realize what I wanted to reflect, or what I wanted to put out there, is my love that just wants to hold the whole world in a place. But I'm also going to be honest here. I'm not perfect. I have my issues. I get angry at my children. I get angry at my husband. I say sometimes some things, but it's in that knowingness of what my truth is that it makes me turn back to my light. It makes me turn back to my spirituality. It makes me turn back. It's practice. And then I ask for forgiveness because that brings more light into me, and also because it's right. Because I honestly do not want to put anybody's wounds on anybody else in this world. None, not so ever. Because I've had some wounds put onto me, and I know what that feels like. So I can't even imagine if I did that onto another person. And if I have, here on this show, I apologize for, creating that hurt. And the real answer is I just didn't know. Because if I knew, I would say I'm sorry. And yeah, I just really feel the truth is so important in our everyday life. So one way to reflect on that and figure out what your truth is, I feel what would be really helpful is just for you to close your eyes here in the moment and just begin to feel the light that's in your heart, or that sensation that's around your heart. And for people that know what chakras are, just really begin to feel that light around your heart. And just allow the light to come through. And if you can just say to yourself truth over and over again, see how that creates a higher vibration or a higher energy or a higher light inside your body. Imagine it like almost like a flashlight, and that there's energy like outside of you. And when your light is really strong in your truth, you'll be able to deflect any energies that aren't serving you. And if an energy comes towards your light, that's only because you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to learn so you can purify more in your truth. So I was just guiding them just how to just check out the truth. And it works different for everybody, but I was just giving them like just this tube inside your body, or even just looking into your heart and just allowing light around your heart and seeing what it looks like, and making it almost look like a flashlight, and just see how flashlights repel energy that isn't for us, and allowing it not to come towards us. And if it does come towards us, that means it's something for us to work with, for us to get deeper in our truth.
Yeah, I think that's neat to hear that. Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think I love the idea of kind of like the flashlight, because it helps, because it's kind of like the idea of focus too, like what are we focusing on? But I think what's interesting when we think of like being in your truth, and just a little bit ago you shared about your friend who passed, and not having that chance to be heard. But I think it's hard to it's tough that like many of us who are in that place don't feel like we can share it with others, right? Like it's kind of the idea, like that pain that we can kind of hold on to sometimes, and not ask for help, because there's like that's I don't know the situation fully, but I think it's tough that like we get to that place sometimes where we feel so alone in what we're experiencing, because I think, life is these like these ups and downs. And of course, certain things are going on in our bodies chemically where like it's hard to process. But yeah, I think, being able to recognize that, life is that, like, that ups and downs, and like how we can like ride the waves, right? As opposed to like just getting it completely wiped up in it, is like part of the journey. And I think when we can create that space to be in our truth, and I think there's a few different ways of kind of finding it for yourself. I think you know it, like you can feel it intuitively.
Mhm.
And it's the idea of like not being divided, right? Like, you're just kind of like, there's like a wholeness to it.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I kind of go back to that. I love this, like kind of this quote by Bob Dylan, but which is all the truth in the world adds up to one big lie,
Mhm.
which is kind of funny because I think we can get so caught up in like the the world, like the what's going on around, like
Totally.
the
Sorry.
no, no,
Totally, totally. COVID-19. Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, we're in the midst of it right now, and I mean, how much is fear driven?
Mhm.
And it's not just that; it's kind of like the world has told us what perfect is, like, so
Mhm.
if we go back to perfect, I mean, we think about like what's going on, like what science is telling us, like, how our planet is just basically like spinning, like there's a perfection just to the way life is, the way, you know everything is happening, like everything that's going on, like, inside our body, how much is being just happening to like make us breathe and do what we do. Yet um we've created this like image of what perfect should be like, as far as like our day-to-day life, like what we
Mhm.
should look like, and what family life should look like, and what our relationship, that it should be flowing beautifully, like we have these like unrealistic expectations sometimes that we can get so caught up in.
Well, I think it's because we're all chasing a dream and not the truth of what's inside
Mm-hmm.
of ourselves and making
Mm-hmm.
everybody available to their unique self. Even when you go to a job, right? They tell you that you're replaceable. I'm telling everybody right now, you're not replaceable. Because when we lose somebody, it hurts and it hurts really bad. And that's the thing is like we're chasing other people's truth. So
Mm-hmm.
I think when we look inside ourselves, what is that truth?
Yeah, and it's different for each of us, right? Like, we're all like, there's something within each of us that's like no other person that's ever
Mhm.
lived, like our makeup of experiences and our skills, our talent, like what drives us, like what fills me up is different than what fills you up, Jackie, and
Mhm.
everyone else. And it's but how often do we try to like fill ourselves up by what like other people said, like this is going to give you joy, this is going to make you happy, this is how, and yeah, it's someone else's dream, right? And it even happens, I think, as parents, like it's just, I mean, I catch myself sometimes like where you think that this certain path is going to lead your child to like that great fulfillment and joy, and how often do you kind of catch yourself and be like, wait, is that what I wanted? And I'm thinking that that's what you need, my child needs to like feel happy, but it's like they have their own drive, their own like, their own truth that's different from mine. And so it
I got
really come.
I gotta share an experience that actually happened today. My daughter, she is 10, and I don't know if all women remember like, oh, taking mommy's makeup and putting that on or whatever. And I took my daughter out to go get makeup because I wanted her to know how to use it because I wasn't taught that. And I wanted her to see what I wanted her to feel special, right? But I had a rule that no eyeshadow. I wanted her to stay as natural as she possibly can because it's my stuff. And she said to me, she's like, "Mommy, I'm growing up," and I'm like, I got to tell you something. I don't like it. I don't want you to grow up. That's not true. It doesn't feel good. So just please be patient with me. Just give me some more time. And she's like, I'm growing up, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, 10 is just a little bit too young for me. This is the rules for right now. Let's just honor that. And until I can move through this, allow me to move through this. But she is being very, very clear that,
Mm.
Mom, I'm okay. Like, this is okay. And I'm like, but I'm not okay with it.
Oh, I know,
We
right?
have our own identity. So, and I just let her know that it's my stuff, not hers. Like, it's my stuff. Like, I don't want her to.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I mean, mine are a little bit younger, right? 8,
Mhm.
6, and 5. And I mean, I think when I learn like at like 5, like they know what they want, like they,
Mhm.
even at that young age, like they have their experiences, they have like their drive. And I mean, it is like, it's a challenge to just like, to not take like what I've experienced and like think that that's like that's what they need to know in order to like show up. But like it's different for them. And just like you said, Jackie, it's hard, right, to see them because we, there are little babies that, they
Yeah.
once were. But I mean, it's not just that you think like that's our children, but then it's our, even like others that are really close to us, our, our partner.
Mhm.
How often have I like thought, like being, that my truth is the same as his, and I think it's important to have those conversations to really know like what you value and like be really firm with that, like what your boundaries are and like, what you value. And like, because that, I mean, I think like what a wonderful quote around this is Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it's what you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. And
Mhm.
to me that's kind of like truth. It's like your character, right? It's like your integrity. So it's something that like it's larger and deeper than any words that we can say. It's felt, right? It's like it kind of drives the choices that we make. And while I think it's like innate, right, like like that's there, but I think in order to like show up in the world where there's so many distractions and temptations, and like we want to have fun and that's what we're here for, to like enjoy, but like we do have to like be like firm with what our values are, what our principles are, because
Mhm.
otherwise, I mean, like especially now, I mean, we're saying like everything, we can get anything we want by like the click of a, it's like everything is instantaneous, and like so it's really easy to like get off compass, right, to kind of get off track. But
Mhm.
it's like you kind of have to know like your lane, and you have to, and it helps in your work, right? I mean, how often can we be in a work thing when we're saying yes to everything, and in that case we're like not doing anything well when we're trying to do everything like at 50% because we don't want to say no, or
So I got to go back to that again. It's like,
mm,
why are we saying yes to everything? What need are we trying to meet here?
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a huge one, right? Like I love the idea of like you have to say no so you can say yes to
Mhm.
those things that are more important.
Right.
But it does, I think, in order to like get to that place to like know when to say no, it's like I believe like getting into your truth is like doing some of the work, right? Like to me, like there's a few different steps. I think it takes a bit of like reflection of,
Mhm.
just kind of like contemplating like times in your life when you felt like you were in your truth, and how, what does that feel like? Like, how did it feel to like show up and be your whole self and feel like you were in the zone, like you were showing up as your highest self. You weren't distracted. You were like feeling love, and it felt good. And we want more of that. So it's like contemplating on why were you able to show up in that moment? Like, what was it?
I wonder if we could just take like a minute here. I know it's going to be a
Mhm.
minute of silence on live, but I think maybe we could allow everyone just to remember a time where we were in harmony with ourselves. And so let's just take a moment and just see if just take some deep breaths here and really focus on the heart that I was talking about earlier. And just allow your shoulders to drop and just to know that you're surrounded by light here, that no one can hear you or see you except for yourself. And just go back to a time that you can remember where you felt like you were in your truth. We're just going to sit here for about a minute in quiet and just see if you cannot get distracted, and just stay here with the feelings or the emotions or the visuals. Good. just come back here and open up your eyes. Maybe write it down or just feel it. Lindsay, did any time period come for you or any?
Yeah, I think about a time, like for me, I can kind of get into that flow state, like, like I'm a runner, right? So I can kind of get into like a flow meditative state, like when I'm just running, where like I'm very clear, like my thoughts are clear, and it's kind of like maybe the like activity of just running. So yeah, I think about a time when I felt like very much in flow, and it just felt good to like just be like thinking clearly and feeling like really positive and kind of like feeling that like love and feeling like really positive about where I
Expansive.
was. What's
Yeah,
that?
really big, expansive, big,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I remember I remembered in my when I was growing up, I had this driveway that had like 4 squares to it, and I remember playing hopscotch with just playing hopscotch with like a chalk in my hand and just doing hopscotch. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but you put numbers on the ground where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and at the top is 10. And I just remember just feeling so like nothing in the world mattered except for that hopscotch. It wasn't about winning or losing, but it was like about being outside. And granted, I'm looking back on this in the moment. I know it was just me and that hopscotch, and I think that's what the gift of seeing children is that we get to really see them in their truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like no filter, right? Like there's they can just be there. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good. And like Jackie said, like writing down, I think like the idea of reflection and contemplation is really great because it helps us like bring more of that in, right? Like so we can kind of think about and appreciate that, and as we are more clear on what we appreciate, we can begin like bringing that in more. We want to like focus on that, and the more where our focus goes, energy flows. So it's a good practice to kind of reflect. And I think it does help us kind of get into truth, because when we know what it feels like, then we can maybe create more of it. So I think that's a big one. And then also just, prayer and the idea of like imagining our ideal, like, imagining and envisioning what it's like to create more of those experiences in our life. Because if we have a like picture, something like we're moving towards, it's easier to like make choices in alignment. So I think that's like another step toward like getting into your truth. It's taking the time to kind of in the stillness to like think and reflect, and then to pray for what you want, pray and kind of like keep that dialogue with your inner self open, and just like thinking about it and dreaming about it. And then I think another third component to kind of getting into your truth is meditation, and we talk about that a lot here. That meditation isn't just on a mat. Meditation is just the idea of being more like in the moment and being present with what you're thinking and feeling in the moment, and doing so without judgment, and allowing compassion in, and that helps us kind of move through tough things a little more easily, and be more centered. And when we're more centered, we can recognize when we're like under that cloud, when things are not going well. And yeah, so those are, I think, a few things. Like I always love thinking about some tools like to add to your tool belt to help you kind of get into that that space of being in your truth.
So I want to go one step deeper with you, Lindsay, and I just want to ask what your thoughts are. Is why is it important for us to be in our truth?
I think it's important for us to be in our truth because it's where like love, like where like that deep kind of love and joy and peace, like that's where truth lives. So like that's kind of our essence. Like all of us, that's like who we are, and there's a lot of layers on top of that that we lose sight of that. So being in your truth is like being one with that oneness, and to me that's how we connect with others too, because that's within everyone. Like that's kind of our core, and that, whatever it is that you believe, like that's, God is love, or like any like goodness, it's within us. And so when we're in our truth, we are like, we're in flow with that, and so we're feeling it, and we're making choices in alignment to it. We're connecting with those people where we feel that. And I do feel like the more that we can kind of clear out some of the stuff that gets us away from our truth, the more we can recognize it and clear our space, that things do, like, we start feeling that natural flow that is in our life. Like there is a path. And even though like sometimes it doesn't feel like it, and those like tough things are coming up and leading us astray at times, like there is, I think, a path. And the more we're in our truth, we can get in flow with it. What about for you?
I'm in total agreement, and I'm in awe over your answer. And the one more thing I wanted to say is, for me at least, when I am that clear inside my truth, I'm so connected to my higher consciousness that I get these gifts of downloads and of information that help me to feel connected, not only to here on earth, but into my higher, to God. I would say God. I know some people don't like that terminology, but that's all I know, and that's all it is. It's my higher power, my higher source. God used to be so triggering for me, but until these past, since 2012, I've seen him showing up for me so many times, and I don't know how, but when I asked, I got exactly what I needed, because I was very clear in what I was needing in the moment. And I'm not talking about I needed a car or I needed this, but it's about tapping into that higher source. I say God, other people say Buddha, Chi, whatever it is. But for me, the anchor that works for me is just this connection that I get. And I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have gone to the shower and have gotten downloads of information about, oh, that's the truth. Oh yes, that's it. Like, it's just this clear feeling, or like you're in the bathroom, or driving down your street, and all of a sudden you're like, this is what truth is. So, or this is my truth and what it does, or why it connects. So for me, I'm just going to say the truth, for me, is the light that shines in me, and how it shines. It allows clarity or connection to my higher source to help me in this world today, to help me to navigate and weave in and out of spirituality, while integrating, taking my spirituality and integrating that into my human experience, because it is all of one. It's all connected together. And we were really here to love each other, really, really love each other and help each other out. And I think we've lost sight of that. And I think we're getting it back. And we just had to do that through the times. And yeah, so that's my mission, is to always choose love.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I believe the same thing. I do believe that too. I think this is a really great quote from David Hawkins, but it's like the sun, the inner self is always shining. But because of negative clouds, we do not experience it. It's not necessary to program oneself with the truth. It's only necessary to remove that which is false. So I think it's just the idea that like that love it's within us, it's there. It's not that we have to program ourselves for it. Like that's our essence. That's what we are.
Being. That's perfect. Yeah, say that again. Can you say that one more time, Lindsay?
Oh, so just that love is our essence. That's what we are. And so we don't need to program ourselves for it. Like that's our core. And so, yeah, just sometimes to get into our truth, we have to remove that which is false. And so there's a lot of beliefs and stories that each of us has that we're running and programming that's not serving us. And so the more we can get clear on those parts that are not true, they're not true for us, they're not allowing us to feel love, that we can let those things go. And the more we do, we get more clear, and it becomes easier to kind of be in our truth and feel love.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a close.
Yes.
That is such a perfect note. And I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to express today. I have been working with the death of my friend and some other things that are coming through. And I'm coming at my truest form and rawest form right now. And that it is truly about uncovering the layers and knowing who you are and knowing that you are love. You are love no matter what. And yeah, we do shitty things. We do things that get in the way, but it's okay. Ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness for yourself. Do whatever you can, because you deserve to have this high energy in this life. You deserve it. And not what was put onto you doesn't necessarily, it is right. That isn't a belief system that you necessarily have to believe. You get to choose. You get to choose who you are. You get to choose love. So that's what I ask for you to do this week, is just really recognize what is yours and what you want versus what somebody else's is.
Yeah, and that speaking from your heart and living genuinely, living in your truth is a gift to the world. That is a gift. Like you are a gift, just showing up as your true whole self. And as you show up that way, you begin to feel more harmony, and you feel more aliveness and love.
Yeah, it's about having the tools. Like, you don't have to be perfect. Yeah, we all make mistakes. Just have the tools in your toolbox to say, I know what clarity feels like, and I know what my truth feels like. And yeah, I screwed up. I did this. And now I just want to learn, and I just want to apologize. Even if that person's not in front of you, you can still say, I'm sorry, because the energy flows where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm. And that clears yourself of it. And that, yeah, I think that's really powerful.
Yeah.
So since we did have some meditation integrated throughout, do we want to end with one, or we kind of just end right here?
I think it'd be great to end it with this beautiful, I love what you said. I'm still holding that. So yeah, it's really good to allow this moment to solidify everything we said here. And I'm really hopeful that, I'm just really hopeful that you guys will reach out to someone and hold space for them, and just allow this information to marinate in your system for whatever it's worth, whatever feels right to you. Take what you can and leave what's not needed. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're really excited about next week. We're having a guest on, and we're going to be talking a little about addiction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who's moving through that. And I think, wherever we are, like there's, what addiction comes from some place. There's like some love that was, there's some hurt there, right? So a lot of us can connect to that in different ways. But we're going to share one story, and I think it's going to be really powerful. So I hope you'll join us next Thursday, same time, 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Central Time. And please do share this with anyone. And if you're joining us live, you can ask any questions or comment, and we will answer as best we can. So thank you, and thanks. Please just be in your truth.
Well, let's
end. It's a gift to the world.
Yeah, let's end.
Oh, okay. You do want to. I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you want music, or are you good?
If you have some music, we could have a nice music. If it's not too hard.
Okay, it's coming.
Okay, so wherever you are, just try to find a nice, calm position for your body. Just allow your shoulders to roll and rest, and maybe your neck to just find a nice calming position. And just begin to close your eyes if that feels good for you. Rest your hands. And just be in this space right now. Let go of what's happened up till this point. Any thoughts about what's coming after, and just be here now. Allow whatever it is you're thinking, if there's any sensations in your body, just observe that and just keep returning back to your breath. That's your center. Just allowing you that flow of breath that moves through your body, that's allowing you to be here in this moment and feel that flow that's always there. Just remember that we're called to speak from our truth, from our heart. That's what we're here for. And everything that we do, we think, it's a reflection of our own truth. And at any time we can tune back in, and if we're feeling out of alignment, we're feeling not in our truth, that all that we need to do to get back to that place is to just get still, to pause, just return to our center. Within our heart center is love. It's our essence. It doesn't require any reprogramming, or all that we may have to do is just let go of those things that aren't serving us, those thoughts, that story, because anything that's against us is not truth. We can let go and not believe that. We can turn back into center and return to love, because that's what is within us, and it's how we connect to those around us. You are a unique expression of truth, of love, and spirit is flowing through you, guiding you. Just trust that voice within you, trust and know that living from your truth is a gift to the world. It's a light that is felt, and it inspires others to live from their truth too. Okay. So thank you.
And that was amazing.
Aw. So just, I think knowing that.
I love you.
Oh, thank you. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, share this with anyone who may want to hear it, and you can email us at choosinglovecommunity@gmail.com, and subscribe at Choosing Love on YouTube.
We just want to thank you for letting us bring our truth forward and allowing it to be real. So thank you. Keep coming back.